broke up with him?
Yes.
Do you think too many women are making the mistake of willingly becoming the perpetual forever girlfriend?
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's a combination of a few things. I think the main one is fear of there not being something better. And I also think that a lot of women, when you've already put in the time and effort and you've gotten through the awkwardness and you've gotten out of the weird talking phase and you've gone through the hurdles of swiping on apps and going on first dates and you're in a relationship, it's like, I'm going to hang on to this with every fiber of my being. I've already put in 3, 4, 5 years.
Today, we're watching Brett Cooper give amazing dating advice. You don't want to miss it.
But in my mind, it's like, okay, you've put in, 3, 4, 5 years, and you're going to walk away from that. Like, wouldn't you rather start from ground zero and find the right person to then spend the next 60, 70 years with instead of spending 60, 70 years with the wrong person? It's like when you put it in that perspective, and also, again, that's why I say when there are signs, when you know that there is not compatibility from the beginning, when there are things like, I'm going to want to date you for 7 years and like I want to have kids by the time I'm X age, I want to get married. I don't want to wait until I'm 26 years old, whatever it is. I want to be able to be free and go meet people who actually might want to know that they want to marry me earlier than that. That's when you cut dry and you move on, because then you are not so emotionally entangled. My mom always says it's her clinging vine theory, which is my favorite thing ever.
Tell us.
She is right about this. You want to make sure, beginning into any relationship, that you are compatible, that you have the same values, that you have the same goals, and that you can work together toward achieving these life goals. Very important.
If you have like a clinging vine wrapped around a tree, it's very easy. If the vine is a baby, if it's a new vine, you just pop it off. It's easy. It's like in the South, we have kudzu, and it is an invasive species that every Southern father, like once a year, goes out and it's like, I will get the kudzu. That kudzu, if you don't get it when it's a baby, when it's just started growing, it will take over your entire life. You literally have to take like an axe and be hacking it off. She's like, that's the same thing with relationships. If you've let this relationship invade your life and go on for far too long, if you are now living with this person, if you are sexually active, this goes for both men and women. If you just...
This is a great analogy, honestly. Let's go to the next clip. I believe she's right about that one.
Debated a lot. And we talked about values a lot. And I remember growing up and, not seeing the values that my family held in anybody else, and just feeling like I was a crazy person all throughout.
What were those values?
Valuing family is a big one, respecting your parents. Just bare minimum things. The biggest one for me as a young woman was how promiscuous all of my female friends were. And I grew up in that world, and as a result, I felt like to be a woman, you either were incredibly feminine, which I equated as weakness as a young woman. So I never wanted to be that, because I thought, I'm a tomboy. I have 3 older brothers. I can never be that. I don't want to wear dresses.
Yeah, honestly, every person is unique. Every woman is unique. And you have to be you first, and do not compare yourself to your friends or to family or to people that you see on social media. You have to be you and do what is right for you, according to your own values, according to what you like and what you feel comfortable with.
I remember my high school best friend saw me wearing a dress for the first time. We were at Priscilla's Coffee in Burbank, California, and it's like ingrained in my brain because she had never seen me wear a dress before. And she was like, that is so weird. There was that side of femininity, and then the other side of femininity, the only other example that I had been given was being incredibly sexual and incredibly promiscuous at a very young age. My friend started sleeping around literally at 13 years old. At 13 years old, they were having sex in LA, in the industry. And their parents were aware of it and okay with it, and putting their teenage 13, 14-year-old girls on birth control.
Insane.
Abortion was a very, very openly discussed issue. And even though at the time I would have called myself more pro-choice, purely because I didn't want the government involved in my decisions about my body, I knew that it was a moral wrong. And the way that these young girls and their families would talk about it with such, a nonchalant attitude. And so
I'm glad she's changed her mind about this. Honestly, she's grown into a beautiful and well thought out woman. She's now married and starting a family, hopefully on a farm. Beautiful what she has become.
The most frequent question that I get is, how do I meet somebody? And it comes from both men and women. It's, how do I meet them? Where do I meet them? And I realized by, going through those comments and talking with people and doing, Q&As, and we'll often do like, ask Brett for advice and we'll talk about this. I realized, and then I thought about my own experiences, Gen Z doesn't know how to date, because our entire lives are online. My first any experience of being asked out and flirting with a guy in high school getting into my first little like baby relationship situationship when I was like 16 years old, it was all done online. It was through text.
Wow. That's the problem nowadays. We spend way too much time online, behind your phone screen, behind screens, and not into the real world, meeting real people, unfortunately.
Text, Instagram, Snapchat. And then when I went to college and I joined my sorority, it was like, how have you never been on Tinder? I'm like, I'm 17 years old. Like, obviously I haven't been on Tinder, but everybody else was. And so then you make dating apps. My first and only real, like, long-term boyfriend that I had before meeting Alex, I met on Hinge. And that is a totally different world. But now, over the last few years, young people especially are getting, more and more unhappy with dating apps. The algorithms are set up against you. The apps, just because they're a business, their goal is to keep you on the apps. Like Hinge's slogan, I think, is the dating app that's designed to be deleted. It's not. They'll like hide the,
Keep in mind that Brad Cooper met her husband at work. So if you want to meet somebody outside of dating apps or social media online, then you have to do some kind of activity and go out into the world and do different things and meet different types of people. And that's how you're going to find someone that you can spend the rest of your life with.
There are more women than people think that are waking up. I was actually planning an episode for next week about this. There have been an influx of women just on my social media alone, speaking out about cultural issues, social issues, political issues, talking about voting for Trump. These are not political accounts. These are random influencers, just girls on their, private, personal social medias, talking about the things that Biden is doing in regards to Title IX, the transgender issue, that they have been completely woken up, realizing, I don't actually want this anymore. Mix that in with the women that are in their 30s that get made fun of constantly on X for crying in their car about the fact that they can't meet a guy because they prioritize their career over dating. And then they just get ripped to shreds by people on the right, which I think is so problematic.
Yeah,
but they are struggling.
This kind of self-owns, as you said before, people on the right that are supposed to be pro-family saying, but you're going to give up your career. You just managed to find your success. This is one of the sort of real areas, I think, of failure, especially for the right, supposed to be the ones that are rational. We position ourselves up against these, super emotional fucking people on the left. You go, dude, you've just taken the piss out of a woman who is the realization that you've said that they're going to have.
Honestly, you don't have to politicize everything, especially dating. You can date left or right, it doesn't matter. Honestly, you have to find the right people for you according to your own values and what you believe you want to accomplish in life. And you have to be compatible, of course. And you can test this out, ask the right question right in the beginning.
Do you want to create a fucking time machine and go back in time? That's evidently not going to happen. And someone opens up to give the message, as opposed to going, see this stupid broad, she shouldn't have listened to blah, blah, blah. You go, okay, it's a cautionary tale. Yes. But there's a human on the other side of that. It's so dehumanizing. So much. This is why I'm so bored with most of politics and sort of culture war stuff, because everybody sees everyone as a political football of some kind that they can either kick away from them or sort of grab and bring onto their team. Perfect example of this. Remember when Nicki Minaj went anti-vax for a couple of weeks? And the right was like, Nicki, come on. I'm like, Nicki Minaj, are we being serious? But there's this brief sort of sliver where their talking point coincides with my desire to push this particular narrative.
Yeah. And you hold on and you're like, I'll ignore everything else.
Lame.
And it's, and I'm somebody obviously that reacts to culture. I talk about the news, that is something that I would talk about on the show, but it's like you walk a fine line of acknowledging that this is interesting. Sure, that's cool. That's, one thing that I agree with Nicki Minaj on, but you don't have to suddenly absolve her of every other value that she's ever had that I disagree with. And I think that's the real problem. Like, you can say, oh, that's cool. I don't agree with the rest of the things that you're doing, but that's interesting. I wonder how she got to that point. That's what's interesting to me.
And of course, you can disagree on something with your partner, with your life partner. You don't have to be the same person at all. You can have different of opinion on some stuff. As long as you share the same value and the same goals, you should be totally fine. And we'll end up with a beautiful speech about upbringing right there, focusing on the very much what is important in our life.
Our daily struggles are still somebody's dream life. There are people around the world, especially women, who would literally kill to be in this room with us, who would kill for the opportunity to be able to speak publicly about their values. And for me, that overwhelming sense of gratitude, that matters more than the daily squabbles that we see online, the social media slanders, the debates, the hit pieces, whatever they throw at us. That matters more. That gratitude is what gives me the peace and the perspective, and more importantly, the strength to focus on what actually matters. But not only those three things, this also gives me my purpose, which in my life is my second key to resilience. Because when you are driven by something that is bigger than yourself, these daily wins and losses matter less. You will not find this type of purpose in likes or clicks or viral moments. Those will not sustain you. I learned that the hard way. For me, purpose is waking up every single day with the goal of making the world a little more sane, to empower every single one of my viewers to feel a little bit more confident in their values, to leave a lasting legacy. That's what I think about every single day. It is the determination to one day be able to tell my future children that I stood firm in my beliefs, that I was not bullied into silence, that I fought to make the world better, and that I did it joyfully, that I showed up on my show every single day joyfully because it mattered.
Amazing speech, honestly. Focus on what is important to you, and this is how you will find happiness in your life. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. I hope it was useful. I appreciate you being here as always, and click right there to watch the next video, and I will see you there. Bye bye.